Good afternoon and welcome to our daily COVID-19 update for the town of Plymouth. I'm Steve Triffletti, your Plymouth Town Moderator, and we're here each Monday and Thursday through June at noon for this update. Today coming to you live, update number 56 on Monday, June 8, 2020. This forum is being brought to you live by PAC TV on Comcast channels 13 and 15 and Verizon channels 43 and 47. You can also watch this on PAC TV's streaming channel by going to pactv.org/live. For questions during today's forum, please email plymouthinfo@pactv.org. These forums can be replayed at pactv.org/Plymouth. Today's participants joining Ken Tavares, Matt Muratore, and me include Sara Cloud. She's the Director of Behavioral Health and Social Work at Beth Israel Deaconess in Plymouth. Peter Parcellin, he's the principal of Plymouth North High School. Michael Jackman, Congressman Keating's office district manager. Also, Heather Cosby, she is a Plymouth CPA. Michelle Bratti, Director of Elder Affairs. Aimee Naples, she's the Executive Director, Plymouth Area Chamber of Commerce. And we're going to begin today with the Chair of the Plymouth Board of Selectmen, Ken Tavares. Welcome, Ken.
Thank you, Steve, and good afternoon to everyone on this beautiful day. I'd like to start out by saying thank you to Gary Maestes and his entire staff that put the graduation together for Plymouth North and South this past weekend. They did a phenomenal job, great feedback. I know just from talking to neighbors in my neighborhood, everyone felt it was just very, very well done. Thank you to everyone that put a great deal of time and effort into making this memorable for the class of 2020. This morning, the Board of Selectmen met at 10:30. We acted on 25 restaurant expansion permits for both public and private property. So hopefully there are restaurants now opening at 12. We were able to have the staff on the fourth floor put together all of the required paperwork that was necessary to go through these new expansion permits. It's a great day. We hope that people this evening will take advantage of the expansion that's taken place with the restaurants. We're anticipating more. The board has set up additional meetings this week so that as they come in, we'll be able to act almost immediately within 24 hours of someone needing an expansion license. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Kenneth Tavares, Chair of the Plymouth Board of Selectmen. He'll be here to answer questions. plymouthinfo@pactv.org. These presentations are coming to you live each day at noon. We date stamp up in the top right-hand corner. This is an opportunity to hear from local officials as well as experts in fields that are responding to the coronavirus. Today at 4 o'clock, the Committee of Precinct Chairs will be joining me in a moderators forum to discuss the July 13 Plymouth Special and Annual Town Meeting. You'll be hearing more about this first from Matt Muratore when he gives his update on recent legislation. At this time, we're going to go to Sara Cloud. She is the Director of Behavioral Health at Beth Israel Deaconess. Sara, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on this Monday. I think much of what we're going to be talking about in this segment is going to be very uplifting and exciting and offer a lot of hope. But I also wanted to make sure that we were also focusing on the challenges of these difficult times, particularly, we're in the midst of a pandemic. We've had the economic downturn and a lot of social unrest. And I really just wanted to talk to folks today about suicide prevention. With this time that we're living in and with so much emotional distress, it's a very common reaction. And feelings of anxiety, depression, and hopelessness, and even thoughts of suicide are normal and to be expected. So even though it's normal, suicide, which can be very complicated and tragic, is often preventable. And that's what I really wanted to touch base about today. So knowing the warning signs of suicide and how to get help really saves lives. So a number of the warning signs that are important for you to clue into if you're concerned about somebody you love, or maybe you're experiencing some of these thoughts and feelings yourself. So a warning sign is talking about wanting to die. Another is feeling empty, hopeless, or having no reason to live. Um, Other things that can kind of clue you in if people are withdrawing from their family and friends, and that's different than normal. There's a change in appetite or sleeping patterns, um, or if they're starting to give away some of their important possessions, things that they really value, or if they're starting to say goodbye either directly or kind of through some symbolism, and if they're working on putting their affairs in order. I know some of those last ones can mirror, people being concerned about, the possibility of getting sick, but combined with some of those other possible symptoms or signs, it's something to kind of pay attention to. And so, if you know somebody who's experiencing some of these signs or symptoms, it's really important to get help as soon as possible. And ways that you can help them is by asking, are you thinking about killing yourself? I know there's a myth out there that if you ask, it's going to be planting an idea in your mind, in the person's mind, and that couldn't be further from the truth. But still, it's not an easy question to ask. But it's absolutely a really important one in terms of saving lives, and it really can help decrease the rates. Secondly, is helping keep them safe. So, reducing a suicidal person's access to either lethal items, and making sure that you're not leaving them alone are really important pieces of keeping somebody safe. Most importantly, you can be there, listen carefully, and learn what the individual is thinking and feeling, and help them connect with treatment and help. There's a lot of 24-hour suicide hotlines that are phenomenal, and in terms of supporting the individual who's having a difficult time. So it's the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, and there's also a crisis text line, and we can provide this information to you so that folks can access this in times of need, if as when it's needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Sara Cloud. She is the Director of Behavioral Health at Beth Israel Deaconess in Plymouth. Please send her your questions to plymouthinfo@pactv.org. And now we welcome back Peter Parcellin. He's the principal, Plymouth North High School. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you. Great to be here. We had a spectacular day on Saturday. The weather held off. It stopped raining just in time for the South graduation. It started raining probably a half an hour after our kids went through. So it was a great day. Our faculty and staff had a great time. It was quite a bit of planning, process, and adjustment. But we were adamant at making graduation happen because we know it's such a once-in-a-lifetime moment for these kids. We were so lucky to have the leadership and the vision of Dr. Maestas to make sure our students were given what was really a unique and historic memory on their actual graduation day on Saturday. And we know that the students and the families are struggling with everything that's going on with all the medical and personal concerns, but also the tradition, the loss of the dinner dance and class day and all of those things. So we were really determined to give our kids an opportunity to in the midst of all those tough memories, to give them kind of a great story and a really positive memory to look back on in the midst of all this. So with the stage across Water Street in front of the Rock and 4 different staging areas and all the staff socially distanced, either along the street or up on the stage, we gave all the kids masks with their logos on it. So all the South kids had white masks with Panthers on them, and all the North kids had black masks with an eagle on them. And all that together, we drew up a pretty detailed plan on how to make it all come together while at the same time meeting all those requirements from the governor. Dr. Maestas did so much to kind of coordinate crafting that plan. All the staff rose to the occasion. And honestly, from the smiles of the parents and the kids crossing the stage, I think we were able to do that. So we've gotten a lot of positive feedback. And most importantly, I think it was a town-wide effort. I mean, inside the Plymouth Public Schools, I know in my time, we've never been able to collaborate on South the way that we did. Both schools moved in lockstep. And in the midst of this crisis, it was difficult, but it really was a moment that embodied that kind of two schools, one town motto. All of our secretaries and advisors, both principals, central office, we all worked together. We met together frequently. We dealt with any shipping delays or manufacturing delays, which there were a bunch of. And we were able to kind of all help each other out to make sure we didn't miss a beat on graduation day. So in the district, that was awesome, but also the whole town, the police and fire chief were so helpful. The departments were amazingly supportive in working out logistics and providing support to everything we did. The DPW was amazing. They had banners up and down the street on the light posts. Different organizations in town gave out coupons and bumper stickers. We had so much to give out to kids when we gave them their caps and gowns. Our boosters club did an amazing amount of work. Our parents individually stepped up to make signs and make all sorts of stuff. The cars were decorated so great. Like, it was great to see all the South cars that were staged up here when I was here in the morning go out. And then our kids, the way they had their stuff together, we had blow up dinosaurs and masks on the fronts of cars. Kids and parents had a ton of fun with it. And I think it was a great experience. I know everybody's asking if we can do it again in the future. So that's, we'll have to figure that out. But for me, it was just great to see all the kids again. It had been so long. And to see them happy was just a great experience. So we took a bad situation, we took a struggling moment, and I think we did something really nice with it. So, and the whole town was involved, which says something about this community. I know a lot of districts are struggling with their answer, and I think all of the people who care so much about this town and these kids did an awesome job on Saturday. So I'm impressed, and I'm just happy that the kids were happy.
Peter Parcellin is the principal, Plymouth North High School. He'll be here to answer your questions. Send them to plymouthinfo@pactv.org. Now we welcome back the district director in Congressman Keating's office, Michael Jackman. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, thank you, Steve, and thank you, as always, to Julie and the PAC-TV team for hosting these forums. It's always great to hear all the wonderful things that are going on in Plymouth. The schools did a great job of graduation, obviously, and the chamber and the hospital doing so much to keep businesses and keep people healthy. So it's great to hear that. Want to talk a little bit, give a little bit of an update on some of the things we've been talking about, the payroll protection program, one of our favorite topics. The update is that the Senate did pass the Payroll Protection Program Flexibility Act, and it was signed into law last week. And this will do a lot of things, I think, that will help businesses be able to comply with the program and to qualify for forgiveness. The idea of the loan initially was to give some funds to businesses so they could stay open, keep folks employed, keep folks paid during the pandemic. But some of the limitations that were initially placed on the program kind of worked against that ultimate goal. One of the things was that if you received the loan, you only had 8 weeks to pay out the funds in order to qualify for forgiveness. And the loan started going out at the beginning of April, so businesses who had received it right in that beginning part would be looking at the 8-week deadline this week. So this extends it to 24 weeks. So it gives, as we think about businesses, restaurants that are just starting to partially reopen now, businesses that are reopening now, they have more time to spend those funds on payroll, on paychecks, on other things too, and be able to qualify for forgiveness. One of the other things is there was a limit in the original law that a threshold, they had to spend at least 75% of the loan on payroll in order to qualify for loan forgiveness. This lowers the threshold to 60%. A lot of businesses were saying not only could they not spend money on payroll because people weren't back to work yet, but also they had other fixed costs like mortgage, utilities, rent, that they wanted to be able to use some of that funding towards. So that lowers that threshold. Some of the other thresholds are rehiring people. Again, I think the initial bill, businesses had until June 30th to rehire. That's been extended to December 31st. The repayment time, it was 2 years. It got extended to 5 years under the new bill. So there's a lot of things in this bill that I think are going to make it easier for businesses to use the proceeds from a loan to keep their businesses going and maintain their businesses during this period as we look to the gradual reopening of the economy. So happy to report on that. Also, just want to give a little bit of an update on the economic impact payments, the so-called stimulus checks that folks are happy in getting. We got a report from the Treasury. Nationwide, 159 million economic impact payments have been paid. The vast majority of those through direct deposit, about 120 million direct deposits, 35 million paper checks, and about 4 million debit cards, although based on the phone calls we're getting, I think all 4 million of those people live in the 9th district because people have been having issues with the card, unfortunately. Based on those numbers, we expect about 30 million additional payments are yet to be made. This is as of June 3rd. A lot of those will be people who filed returns, but were below the income threshold set by the CARES Act. A lot of Social Security recipients who did not have to file returns, about 7.5 million, have yet to get their payments. About 10.7 million taxpayers who did not need to file a return based on their income level. A lot of VA recipients still haven't received their returns yet. So, and the other thing to point out is the IRS, as I think I mentioned before, the service centers are gradually reopening throughout the month of June. So people who file paper returns have not received their refunds yet. Their returns have not been processed yet. Over the next few weeks, hopefully we'll have more updates for you on which service centers are reopening and are able to process those paper returns, because a lot of those people, if they were first-time filers for 2019, if they file the paper return, the IRS doesn't have any data on them in order to generate a payment, an economic impact payment. So important to note that. Again, hopefully we'll have some updates on that. Just want to give the number again. If you have a question about the EIP card, again, we're getting a lot of calls about those. You can go online to eipcard.com, or you can call 1-800-919-9835. You can report a missing card, or if you inadvertently dispose of your card, which a lot of folks have done because it is coming in that plain white envelope with a money network benefits, I think is the return address. So be on the lookout for that plain white envelope. Don't throw away your mail. Open it up, even if it's junk mail, or if you think it's junk mail, it might be your EIP debit card. Any questions, always feel free to call us in Plymouth, 508-746-9000. Thank you, Steve.
He is District Director for Congressman Bill Keating's office. Please send your questions to him at plymouthinfo@pactv.org. We now welcome back Heather Cosby. She is a CPA in the town of Plymouth. Welcome, Heather.
Hello, thank you for having me back, and congratulations to all the graduates. I loved seeing all the cars and everybody honking their horns. It was just so nice to see the positiveness out there. And thank you, Michael, for the lead off into the biggest thing I have to talk about today. So yes, the law was passed. And I do want to point out one thing about the law, because I think this is a nice positive as well. Between the House and the Senate, there was only one congressman that dissented. It was completely unanimous otherwise. And I just think that's a great, thing to talk about, so that everybody, other businesses know that the government is really trying to get these things corrected, and they're doing a great job actually getting that through quickly and getting it passed. I will only say that the one person that dissented was from Kentucky. That's all I'll say about it. I don't know why they did it, but they're from Kentucky. So I wanted to go through a little bit more detail of the changes in the law, and kind of then what do these changes mean? Where's the next round of information going to be coming from to interpret it, and hopefully give you a little more detail. I found an article that I gave Julie. It's a nice, simple article. It's written by allbusiness.com. And why I like this article explaining the law is because it's very straightforward, easy to read, and has the links in it for an everyday business owner. So just talking about the 60% and 75% change. So my understanding is that there's going to be regulations coming out about that. And it's possible that if you don't meet the full 60% of payroll, then none of it could be forgiven. And that's a piece that I read in one place and I'm waiting for more details. The other piece of this is, although they changed the percent of how you can spend the money, they have not added any other expenses. So it's the same expenses that you qualified for originally, you can qualify for now. Some of the businesses are pushing to the point that why can't they use this money for protective equipment that they're required to have? So that is something that's kind of in play in the background. But as of today, the law is the exact same type of expenses that were under the original law. But there is, like I said, they're trying to move forward and get some other items included that seem pretty logical considering the circumstances. The second piece of this is about the 8 to 24 weeks. And I just want to point out that the calculation when you did your original PPP loan application, that explained how the payroll was to be calculated. There's actually no change in that calculation. They've just given you more time. What that means basically is for a self-employed person and anybody who makes a higher amount of wages, the cap is still 100,000, and the amount right now, as it's understood, is still 8 weeks for a self-employed owner subcontractor. So that's still capped at 15,000 and change. It didn't turn it into 24 over 52 weeks. So it didn't increase the amount that could be given for each, used to calculate the forgiveness for each employee. So again, it gave you more time, which is essentially to the end of the year, but it didn't all of a sudden say, oh, now if you're self-employed, it's 24 weeks of payroll. That's what would be an incorrect interpretation. With regard to the calculating using the full-time equivalent, so basically getting your staff back up. The deadline before was June 30 to get your staffing levels at the point that they were before February 15th. And now you have till December 31st. So again, you just have more time to get everything back in shape. And this is great. It's really going to make a big difference. The entire intent was to make sure these loans are forgivable. The other point of this is that in the 2 to 5 years, to understand that a little bit better is that if you have a part of your loan that's not forgiven, SBA has, I think, your bank has 60 days to approve your forgiveness application. SBA has 90 days. And then you're given 6 months from the day SBA approves your forgiveness before you have to make your first payment. So this deferral process can actually push you out until May of 2021 before you have to make your first loan payment. So that's, again, some people got the money, they know they're not going to get it all forgiven even under these new rules, and you're still going to have a long time to restore your cash flow before you're going to have to pay for this loan. Another nice point of this is that under the original law, you couldn't take advantage of the payroll tax deferment that was allowed under some of the other portions of the CARES Act, where you can take 2 years to pay some employer-related payroll taxes. They actually fixed this under this law so that now businesses that received the PPP loan can also take advantage of the payroll tax deferment. So that was a nice piece that doesn't seem to be getting a lot of press, but it just adds more flexibility. It's going to give small businesses more time to get their cash flow restored once things move ahead. So the other piece of this is, the SBA and the Treasury just came out with their, 30-something page interpretation or final rules on how to interpret this. Obviously, everything's going to have to be rewritten. So, be patient. It took them, a month to write them in the first place. So now they're going to have to go back and rewrite all the guidelines they just gave to banks and to borrowers for the forgiveness process. They're going to have to update it for all this information. So you are going to have to continue to find this information on sba.gov or on the Treasury website direct as well. So that's the update for the PPP related businesses. The second piece, IRS came out with a nice 2-page summary, because some of these employer tax credits that came out under the CARES Act are quite honestly really confusing. They're confusing for me, so I have a feeling they're even more confusing for everybody else if I can't follow them. So I gave Julie this link that's a nice 2-page summary of the employer tax credits that is up on the screen now. And it really kind of walks you through. One of the most important things on page 1 of this is that it says if you received a PPP loan, then you can't participate in certain credits. So this is really geared toward those businesses that have not opted to participate into the PPP loans, so that you have a nice outline. I still think now with these expanded new rules, there's going to be regulations and interpretation coming out to find out at what point could you use a little bit of this program and a little bit of that program. It's still hard to really put this all together, particularly when it's changing every week. But I like this on the second page. It talks about some of the paid sick leave credits, which haven't been getting a lot of airtime, the family leave credit, things like, so this is a nice place for you to go and get some information, see if it applies to your business in a nice, concise way. So I wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. And then the last piece is that there still is no significant movement on this issue with the Treasury Secretary saying the PPP loans. We know that the forgiven amount of loan proceeds is not going to be income, but they want to make the expenses not deductible, which is exactly the same as saying the loan is taxable. So there is movement on more co-sponsors on these bills, but they were not included in this, and that's a real key. I can't stress enough. If you're a business that received like $100,000 in loans, you don't know if you have $100,000 in expenses you're going to be allowed to take or not. So that is still on the horizon, and it is still gaining co-sponsors in each the House and the Senate. As far back, last week they were getting more co-sponsors. So I hope that this item gets clarified either by the Treasury Secretary changing their position, because senators, I think the senators wrote a letter to the U.S. Treasury, the Treasury Director, excuse me, and stating that they felt his interpretation of the law was wrong. So we're at this situation where there's, is the IRS interpreting the law wrong, or do we have to write a law to fix it? And but I still think that it's a huge enough issue that it will get fixed in enough time, but it's not fixed as of right now. So that's everything from the accounting world.
Heather Cosby, CPA, from the town of Plymouth. And at this time, we're going to continue with Michelle Bratty. She is the Director of Elder Affairs with the town of Plymouth. Welcome, Michelle.
Hi, Steve. Thank you so much. And hello to the esteemed panel and Julie at PAC TV. So we've in the scheme and in the theme of reopening and in our new futures, just in terms of seniors and where we stand and for the Center of Active Living. We've been talking a lot lately about CAL being closed. And I think it's important to point out the inaccuracies, honestly, of that statement. The CAL building has been closed to the public. That's true. But I want the seniors in this town to remember the very essence of what we do has never had a closed system on our door. Outreach, wellness checks, birthday calls, board meetings, Meals on Wheels, masks, laughs, smiles, phone calls, problem solving, food, virtual programming have all been happening at CAL. As we enter summer, we're gearing towards scaling up our operations and rolling out a facility reopening plan. Until we get there, we're going to focus on socialization and putting you in touch with each other through virtual means. We are aiming to put the F back in fun. We know you miss each other. We need to put our energy on reconnecting you to each other. We hear you, we're listening, we understand that's what's important to seniors right now. While we continue to work on the physical building opening and what we can offer, I'm letting you know that we can and will be offering social and support groups, health and wellness classes, and events through Zoom. I realize not all seniors have computers and smartphones, but for those of you that do, you honestly need to familiarize yourself with this technology. It's free and it's user-friendly. If you don't have a computer or a smartphone, ask your friends if they have one you can borrow. Talk to us if you think you need one. Doesn't mean we can supply one, but we want to try to help everybody. You can also dial into Zoom and just hear each other without a computer. Know that we're working with PAC TV, other area COAs to bring you shared programming through PAC TV, which a computer is not required, but gives all communities a variety of options. We can connect any of the CAL groups. If the women's group or the men's group or Diabetes boot camp at Cal. Those are a few things that we do here. Or grandparents raising grandchildren. If they want to connect through Zoom meetings, simply let us know and we'll get you together. We will make that happen for you. Let us help you stay connected. We don't have a date for reopening. That is the truth. We're not in phase 2 for COAs or Council on Agings or Center for Active Living. So we do not anticipate opening during this phase. I know some of you are calling us asking, are you open? We're not. Despite not having a date, we have formed a reopening task force to ensure that when we do, every I will be dotted and every T will be crossed to ensure your safety and comfort. The town is in no way going to make sure, they're going to ensure that we are good to go when we open our doors. I have faith in Cal, and most importantly, I have faith in the esteemed panel you see in our town and helping us execute that. Vote, vote, vote. June 20th, local elections, let your voice be heard. The link for absentee ballots can be found on the town website or in our constant contact. You can contact the town clerk with any questions, as always, at 508-747-1620, extension 10205. Please fill out your census forms. Help Plymouth win the 2020 Census Challenge. Plymouth remains in 6th place out of 8 towns. We need to do so much better than this. In terms of senior state funding, know this, that Massachusetts Council on Aging has shared with us that the census numbers that are counted now will determine funding through fiscal year 32. Yes, you heard right, 2032. 2032. That is why completing the census now is so important, as it has such long-ranging impact on senior services. So if you need help doing that, you know where to find us. Please contact us and we'll make sure it gets done. Thank you, Steve.
Michelle Bratty, she is the Director of Elder Affairs for the town of Plymouth, and at this time, each Monday, we have a business segment with Aimee Naples, Executive Director, Plymouth Area Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Aimee.
Hey, Steve, great to see you. Today is a great day for the Chamber of Commerce. We are very excited to see that Massachusetts has now reached phase 2 in Governor Baker's reopening plan, and now we'll be able to go inside retail shops. Children will be able to head to the playgrounds and participate in sports programs, and restaurants can serve patrons outside. So I want to go over all of the businesses allowed to open today. Childcare facilities and day camps, but this does not include overnight camps. Temperature checks will be required, as well as other limitations. Driving and flight school, funeral homes with occupancy limits, higher education classes, hotels, other lodging, although they cannot offer or host events or any sort of meeting. And those are also under a series of conditions for their reopening. Outdoor recreation, including pools, playgrounds, and driving ranges. Personal services such as home cleaning, window washing, education tutoring, career coaching, and of course the social distancing are mandated during those. Sports, professional and youth sports teams may continue to practice, although no games are permitted, or public admission is allowed. Warehouses and distribution centers, restaurants, a lot of people are waiting for the restaurants to open, and they can do so outdoors only, with tables 6 feet apart and away from high foot traffic areas. So tables will not be allowed to be close together unless there's protective barriers in place. No more than 6 people can sit at a table. Takeout service will still continue. So that is exciting for many of our restaurants, and we have so many in town here. Retail stores as well can open today, however, at a maximum of 40% capacity. So that's important. There are many factors that come into play with that. Markers must be placed outside of stores, keeping people waiting, of course, 6 feet apart. They must be 6 feet apart inside the stores. Stores need to have installed barriers at the checkout stations whenever possible, certainly social distancing markers within the stores, checkout lines, etc. Of course, face coverings are worn at all times in the restaurant and retail establishments. In regards of retail, sampling stations like makeup and perfume are not allowed. Fitting rooms will remain closed as well. And of course, after each customer, they must disinfect the shared equipment and disinfect all and keep a log of the cleaning and all of that. In addition, fitness classes, walking, biking on trails, yoga, of course, with those social distance between others, and also no more than 10 people in those group activities. So the list is quite big, and we're very excited as a chamber. You can visit mass.gov/reopening for the complete listing of guidelines. Of course, this decision was made by Governor Baker because of the statistics that had shown a downward trajectory in terms of new cases and hospitalization. So I want to reiterate, it's very important that we're practicing our social distancing, wearing our face masks, and practicing, of course, good hygiene, wash your hands. Also important to mention, phase 2 is going to be implemented in 2 steps, which will include hopefully the restaurants to offer indoor service during that. And then as well as opening for nail salons, tattoo parlors, those close contact services will be able to open in the second part of phase 2. So those will remain closed until the governor announces that reopening. So we know our local businesses are so excited to reopen today and been working very hard to ensure they are within the guidelines and ensuring the safety and health of all of their patrons. The chamber's been working hard at preparing with the opening with all of these local businesses, offering guidance, coming up with creative ideas and support, and just making sure all the businesses are in compliance. But even more so, the town of Plymouth has been working around the clock to review the applications and proposals from the restaurants in particular. I want to give a huge shout out to Lisa Johnson from the town manager's office and Karen Keene, the public health director, who have been nonstop working with our local businesses, answering questions and reviewing applications, making recommendations and offering guidance. I have personally seen firsthand the support our legislative delegation, Matt and Kathy, Ken Tavares, and the entire select board, as well as our town manager, Melissa Riggi, and other town employees are giving to get businesses up and running. As a chamber and talking to other colleagues around the state, they have not had the same experiences. And I just want to share how thankful I am for their dedication to our community and especially to our small businesses. So today is an exciting day, and it's because of our town and our delegation that is allowing us to be moving forward in the right direction. So as a chamber, we always are celebrating opening of businesses with ribbon cuttings and big celebrations, and we are going to continue to do just that. We're going to have the biggest ribbon ever had virtually to celebrate the reopening. So stay tuned for those great videos highlighting our wonderful businesses. And that is our business update for today, Steve.
Thank you, Aimee Naples, Executive Director, Plymouth Area Chamber of Commerce. She's here to answer your questions at plymouthinfo@pactv.org. Next, we're going to be hearing our State of the State message from our State Representative, Matt. Since Friday, I've been busy carrying around a copy of the recent legislation that was signed into law by the governor regarding the municipal relief statute. And could you tell us a little bit about it? We got to become very familiar as town officials.
Yeah, it's, Steve, that seems like that was so long ago because then the governor came out Saturday and started working on the phase 2. So we've been working diligently on all the phase 2. But yeah, let me start with that first. The highlights of that municipality bill that was signed by the governor on Friday includes remote participation for representative town meeting government, which is what we have. There's more flexibility in the budgeting process. Basically allows communities to do a 3-month individual budget. So you can do a budget for July, August, and September. And then there's some emergency educator license information for the Commissioner of Education. And by the way, Steve, there's a town, and you and I discussed before, it was Lexington, has already done a remote town meeting even before the legislation was passed. So we kind of had to hurry up and approve this quickly so they could be covered under that. But now that this legislation is placed, the town of Plymouth can do a remote town meeting if they'd like. And we'll go into more the specifics today at 4 when we meet with the town meeting the precinct chairs to give more details on it. But it does give more flexibilities to the cities and towns and be able to make budgeting at least a lot more simpler for folks to do. With regards to the opening of the Commonwealth in phase 2, and I don't think I've ever seen Aimee so excited before. And by the way, I have my scissors ready to go, so I can actually do them virtual too. So whatever you need, I could actually do. But she's right, and I think people need to be a little cautious with this. There are 2 stages to this. A lot of people thought, my daycare's not open today. What happened? Well, the daycares aren't opening yet. There's still some guidance that has to come out from EEC, so that'll be a little bit later on. The indoor dining, that'll be a little bit later on in phase 2. There's some other things like that are opening today. The healthcare providers can resume in-person elective surgeries, non-urgent procedures and services, including office visits, dental visits, vision care. Although, Steve, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to get any cosmetic surgery at this point. That's going to have to wait till to phase 3. So hang in there, and you'll be able to get that soon. And Aimee went through the rest of the list, but just be cautious with the fact. You can see we're all happy today. And when the state opens up more, we're all getting a lot happier about these things. But as you can see, there are stages to all this. So we just need to be cautious, and it's good that we're all happy about this, but we still need to be careful that the decision on stage 2 will come up probably by the end of the week or on Saturday again, depending on how the numbers look. And the numbers again are looking terrific. The 7-day weighted average for positive tests going back to mid-April are down 83%. The 3-day average of folks in the hospital since mid-April is down 58%. The 3-day average of deaths since mid-April has gone down 73%. And the number of hospitals that were in surge capacity has gone down to 76%. So, and I think there's only maybe 5 or 6 hospitals left that are in the surge at this point. Plymouth County, the numbers are growing, but at a small rate. When we last talked Thursday, there was 8,243 cases. Now there's 8,363 cases. In Plymouth, there were 545 on Thursday when we spoke, and today there's 556. So a slight increase. The deaths have gone up slightly in Plymouth County and Plymouth as well. So we are moving in the right direction. We do need to continue to, as Aimee mentioned, wear our mask. Continue to practice physical distancing so we can continue to do the things that we need to do in order to get to the next stages. Some of the phase 3 items that we have to look forward to would be the bars opening, movie theaters opening, other entertainment venues, gyms, museums, and casinos, etc. So that we're looking at that phase 3. Again, if everything goes well with all these numbers, we continue physical distancing and continue wearing masks, and the numbers continue to drop, then we're looking at phase 3 around June 29th. So we are getting there. We are looking forward to getting out into the restaurants and the outdoor restaurants. And I do want to thank Chairman Tavares and the Board of Selectmen, and Aimee is absolutely correct. I mean, this community has come together like no other community I've seen or heard from hearing from my colleagues as well. We're in constant communication with each other. What the Select Board has done is, and people aren't realizing this, I know Ken mentioned it, but they're setting up, and they already met this morning, they're setting up more meetings so that every restaurant will be able to open in a timely manner, so there's no holdup. So it's just great, and we applaud the Select Board for doing that. And finally, I do want, on a personal note, I want to thank Peter and the folks from the Plymouth North High School, the folks from Plymouth South High School, Dr. Maestas, Dr. Campbell, Patty Fry, the DPW, the police, the fire. I had a daughter that actually graduated, and it was unbelievable. They were all against it initially. All the kids didn't like it. Oh, this is stupid. We shouldn't be doing this. And talking to my daughter this morning, boy, she says, I hope they do it year after year for all the other kids as well. So a great job. Back to you, Steve.
Matthew Muratore is Plymouth State Representative. Please send him your questions to plymouthinfo@pactv.org. And this Thursday, we'll be back. Ken, Matt, and I will be joined by Dr. Philip Triffletti. He is an attending primary care physician at Beth Israel Deaconess. Also, Dr. Mark Wilson, a Plymouth epidemiologist. Christopher Smalley, he is the Director of Marketing and Communications, Beth Israel Deaconess in Plymouth. We welcome back Bob Eisenstein. He's a senior living consultant. And once again, Jack Cocchio from South Shore Community Action Council will be returning with some special announcement. Stephen Cole is the Executive Director for the Plymouth Regional Economic Development Foundation. And now we're going to begin with our question and answer. And the first question is going to go to Aimee Naples. Aimee, it has to do with restaurants. And the question is from Jan. Will restrooms in restaurants be available?
Hi, Jan. Yes, restrooms in restaurants will be available. They will be paying close attention to the number of people and limiting those inside of the establishment.
Thank you, Aimee Naples. Next question for Matt Muratore. Matt, Bill writes, where can I get a copy of the recently passed legislation regarding a virtual town meeting? And Matt, I just emailed it to Bill, who asked the question, but for the rest of our viewers, where can people get copies of any legislation?
Well, they can go to mass.gov to get any information, but they can also reach out to my office, email me with any legislation they'd like, matthew.muratore@mahouse.gov, and we'll be glad to forward off any information to them.
Thank you. Each day we go back to all of our participants and ask each of them for a final closing statement. We're going to begin with Sara Cloud. Sara, what would you like viewers to remember today from what you've heard?
Hi, thank you. I think this has been a very exciting and uplifting segment. I'm just as excited about this past weekend's events here in town and the graduation and all of these openings. And yes, I feel like a Debbie Downer to talk about suicide, which such amazing things are happening. But I think, unfortunately, that is one of the reasons why suicide is the 10th leading cause of death, is because it isn't a fun topic to talk about. And it's really surrounded by a lot of stigma and shame. And so my closing remark and thoughts are, please know that there's people out there available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, who understand and who care. There is hope available, and you're not alone. So we are very fortunate in the Plymouth County area to have a very active suicide prevention coalition. And they have offered this reference sheet that has some really important information about the 24-hour hotlines that I just referenced. And so the two that I really want to make sure we call out right now in a very brief time is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. It is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if you're a veteran, please call and press 1. And then we're very fortunate here in Massachusetts to also have Call to Talk. And they are run by the United Way. And they also offer a texting platform because not everyone wants to talk. Some people might prefer to text. So that's available as well. So thank you very much for allowing me the moment on this exciting day to make sure that we're also talking about suicide prevention.
Thank you, Sara Cloud, Director of Behavioral Health, Beth Israel Deaconess in Plymouth. Peter Parcellin, Principal, Plymouth North High School. What would be a takeaway from this weekend's wonderful graduation ceremonies?
I appreciate the thank you from Matt. I know the Muratores did a lot. They had diplomas out there for both schools for kids to take pictures in front of. It's a testament. You know, they say in times of tough times or times of strife, you get your true values come through. And I think if there's anything to take away from what we saw over the last couple of weeks of putting that together, is that this community is pretty impressive. Everybody, the two schools came together. The leadership we have in our district is strong. The whole town didn't just say okay, they came over and helped us. And I think if there's anything to take away is that this town comes together for its kids, and the smiles on all these graduates is because a whole town is behind them. So I think that's a strong take from that message.
Peter Parcellin is the principal of Plymouth North High School. Thank you, Principal Parcellin. We're now going to go to the district director in Congressman Keating's office, Michael Jackman. Mike, what can viewers remember today?
Thank you, Steve. And as always, Michelle mentioned the census, but I do like to close and remind folks that it's so important to respond to that census when you get it in the mail, or for a lot of people in Plymouth last week, this week, and next week, the update leave packages have been left on doorknobs. So if you see a plastic bag on your doorknob when you get home or when you check your mail in the afternoon, that is very likely from the census, and it will have dedicated information for you, your household, to file with the census. That one of the reasons that Plymouth is in 6th place in the competition that Michelle referenced is because significant portions of Plymouth are in this update leave zone because of post office box use and other factors. But if you have any questions about the census, you can always go to 2020census.gov, and you can find out how you can file online or by telephone. If you have questions about the update leave package that was left, you can go there as well. So the census is so important because it will dictate funding for our communities throughout, as Michelle referenced, the next really 11, 12 years. So please do take the time to fill it out. It takes about 5 or 10 minutes. It's really easy to do. And by responding online or by phone, you will be lessening the need for the canvassers to go door to door, which is something that we want to avoid as much as possible during these times. So thank you. And any questions at all about the census, you can call our office as well. So thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Michael Jackman, District Director, Congressman Bill Keating's office. Heather Cosby, you gave us a lot of information today. What do you want viewers to remember?
Remember that the changes that happened are good. And of course, you have to get out and educate yourself. And, you know, it's all you can do as a business. And I just want to give a shout out to the graduates of this 2020 year. You know, with everything, in every change, there's opportunity. And if the graduates have the ounce of spunk that Matt's daughter has, we will be fine. Everybody will be fine. I just wanted to share that Alexis, my son, is a year younger, and they were on the same baseball team when they were 11 and 12. My son said, "Mom, there's a girl on my team. Should I throw as hard?" And I said, "Go throw. She's fine." And he came back and he goes, "Mom, she throws harder than me." And she was the Cy Young winner at 12. So I'm telling you, these kids are amazing, all of them. And Matt, congratulations. You guys do such a great job. And Kristen, so thank you.
Thank you, Heather Cosby, Plymouth CPA. We're going to Michelle Bratty, Director of Elder Affairs. Michelle, what's the takeaway for today?
Well, in keeping with the theme, of course, of just, you know, the community coming together. Peter, I had a nephew graduate, you know, and again, the same message, but I think it's okay to repeat it. If this is what you're hearing from a small panel of people that are together for a random reason, this community is amazing. And the families, my family was just, they were accepting of the decision and the change, and then walked away blown away by the execution of this plan and wanted this year after year. That's the consensus. So you have your work cut out for you, but good stuff. And just know too that when we all talk and we kind of ad lib a little on this panel, you know, I talk about a task reopening force, a reopening committee, and Aimee Naples, who is amazing at the chamber. You all know this. She's just agreed to be on it because she understands we intersect. Many of who you're seeing, we all intersect. We're all coming together for different reasons, but all coming together to help each other out. So you should know that, Plymouth. It's important. And I'll leave you with this. There is a very wise gentleman in this town. You might know him. His name is Matt Muratore. And he listens to me. I just found this out. I make a call every other day to several residents in Plymouth, and I usually end with a quote. And he's perfectly appropriate, how fitting today in what we're talking about. I did say this a couple weeks ago, so I'll continue. I will repeat. Try one exercise every day. Bend over and pick someone up. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Michelle Bratty, Director of Elder Affairs for the town of Plymouth. Aimee Naples, what would you like us to remember today?
Absolutely. Well, first off, congratulations to all the graduates. Just a job well done. I was in awe and I saw a lot of feedback and I felt so bad for you all and the parents were going crazy, but it turned out to be absolutely amazing and just what the students want and something unique and different. And that's what the pandemic is. So I think so much has come out of this. This is such a wonderful panel, such a wonderful program, and I learned so much from all of the other panelists, and I truly enjoy being here when I am here once a week. So my plea, of course, as always, please support our small businesses. They have been through a really tough time, as we all know, through the pandemic. And the only way for us to aid them in the economic recovery is financially to support them. So please, I encourage you to support our small businesses. They're the ones who are supporting our local schools, our local nonprofits, our Little League teams, all of that. So now is our time to give back to them. Also, lastly, I'm very excited to announce the Plymouth One Fund application is available at plymouthchamber.com. This application is for small businesses that need assistance in the form of unrestricted grants, whether it be mainly operating costs, payroll, inventory, utilities, rent, whatever it may be. The application is available at plymouthchamber.com. If you have any questions in regards to it, you can always reach out to me at 508-830-1620 or by email amy@plymouthchamber.com. There are some eligibility requirements, but the application is rolling and we are very excited and eager to get the funds dispersed as soon as possible to our small businesses that need it the most. So have a great day.
Thank you, Aimee Naples. And Aimee, with respect to the restaurants, I personally plan to be dining at one of the restaurants tomorrow, but some of them are taking reservations and some of the seating times are already taken. So for all the viewers, you might want to call in advance to schedule a
Good
time
tip.
that is convenient for you. And that includes you, Matt. What's your closing statement?
Well, I want to put this up while I do the closing, just so you can see what I was talking about, step 1 and step 2 of the opening. But first of all, Heather, thank you for your kind comments. And it's so hard to believe it was 6 years ago that these kids were playing Little League baseball. It just has gone by so quickly. It's just unbelievable. And Sara, you're never a Debbie Downer. Any meeting I ever go to with you, you are uplifting and you're full of positive remarks and great information you give out. So we thank you for all you do, and particularly information today as well. It's a great reminder. And Peter, I remembered probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago, you and I and the principal of Plymouth South and Dr. Maestas and Dr. Campbell and Patty Fry were meeting at the waterfront and talking about this plan of how we can do this graduation. And we were all excited and, we thought it was going to be great. And then once it was announced, over 1,000 people went through a petition to send it and actually say, look, we don't want this. This is a dumb idea. I know Gary was down, but we actually said, you know what, stick with it, keep going. It's okay. They will like it. And they do. And they did. And every single person went through. So again, congratulations for everything you did with graduation. We appreciate that. And thank you for that quote, Michelle. And thank you for what you're doing with everything. It's really, really terrific. And Aimee, I don't know if we'll ever stop seeing you smile over the next month or two. So keep it up. So just in closing, again, it's a good day. Again, we got to be cautious with the numbers. Continue to stay informed by going to mass.gov/COVID-19. If you have questions, call 211. To get text alerts, it's text COVID MA to 888-777, or in Spanish, COVID MA ESP to 888-777. Or if you have questions on your health, bowie.com/mass. And my legislative director, Betty DeBenedictis, actually corrected me to find legislation, any legislation, you actually go to malegislature.gov, and you can find any legislation whatsoever. That's malegislature.gov, and that this particular legislation is S2680. So there's all sorts of information out there. Continue, again, stay informed. Be cautious out there. Start having a little bit of fun out there, and let's keep coming together by staying apart. And we'll talk to you again we'll talk to you later today, Steve, and we'll see you all on the show on Thursday.
Yes, thank you, Matt Muratore, and he's referring to a Committee of Precinct Chairs forum at 4 p.m. today live regarding Plymouth Special and Annual Town Meeting. Thanks to all the members of our panel today. They include Sara Cloud, Peter Parcellin, Michael Jackman, Heather Cosby, Michelle Bratti, Aimee Naples, and of course we circle back each day to the Chair of the Plymouth Board of Selectmen, Ken Tavares. Ken, what do you have for us today?
Thank you, Steve. Once again, following everyone that's already spoken, congratulations to the grads. Your smiles were uplifting, and we wish you nothing but the best. You've weathered a big storm with your graduation, concluding your school year, but you've done it and you're well prepared. Best wishes. Also to Aimee and Matt, thank you for your kind words. As we've said so many times, the work that gets done in this community is many people putting differences aside and working together, and this has been extremely helpful. The business of the town continues to go on. As a matter of fact, an afternoon meeting that I have, a Zoom meeting, has nothing to do with the virus. It's to do strictly with town business, and I'm looking forward to it. Again, thank you to everyone for working on getting the restaurants open. We look forward to them being successful, and just have a little bit of patience in waiting for that reservation. It'll be well worth it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenneth Tavares, Chair of the Plymouth Board of Selectmen. Again on Thursday, we'll be back at noon, and we'll be joined by Dr. Philip Triffletti, Dr. Mark Wilson, Christopher Smalley from the Beth Israel Deaconess in Plymouth, Bob Eisenstein, Senior Living Planning Consultant, Jack Coccio from the South Shore Community Action Council, and Stephen Cole, Executive Director, Plymouth Regional Economic Development Foundation. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Steve Triffletti, Plymouth Town Moderator, and good day.